Hi everyone, Stranger here. Firstly, I wanted to say sorry for the huge gap between videos. I had a shards and sets video ready in the wings when GameHive announced they were reworking the Silent March system. This change would invalidate a few parts of my video, so I decided to wait and do it again another time once the changes were made. How dare those damn devs update the game, unbelievable. Anyway, today's video is going to talk in depth on the rogue skill tree. I'll talk about what changes have been made and how they will affect the different builds in the game. Okay, so things to know before we talk about the skill tree. The Silent March system has been fully reworked, and everyone just gets it by default. It no longer uses damage to check if you can reach a stage, which means inactive damage is now redundant. So that means inactive damage and stealth damage have been removed from the game. In case you didn't already know, stealth damage gave all damage and inactive damage. Inactive and stealth gold remain unchanged however, since inactive gold is still needed. Silent March now uses inactive sneak count to work out how many stages you can Silent March up to. Increasing your max stage gives you higher levels of a new Silent March passive skill, which allows you to sneak further. The pet Xander has had its bonus changed from inactive damage to plus sneak count. The artifacts Earrings of Potara and Avian Feather have also had their bonuses adjusted to Titan Slayer and Weapon Expert respectively. Titan Slayer gives you all damage and critical damage, and Weapon Expert gives you sword boost and heavenly strike damage. Rogue Boost has had inactive damage dropped off of it. This affects the Fagin's Grip artifact, the Shadow Disciple and the new Hidden Viper equipment sets. The Sly Wolf set and the Dark Predator set have had their bonus changed to plus sneak count. The Sly Wolf set also brings your Silent March up from 90% MS to 99% MS. 9% might not sound like a lot, but it's the 9% of your max stage, not your remaining stages after Prestige, so it's actually a decent chunk, especially for players who are already advanced starting at quite high levels. Alright, so what changed in the skill tree? Master Thief, Assassinate, and Ambush are the only skills that have stayed and remain unchanged. All the rest are new except for the 3 offline Deadly Strike skills that have now been fused into a single skill, and of course Silent March, which has been moved outside of the tree. Here's the layout of the tree. Now I'll go through each skill one by one. Let's start with Master Thief. This skill is unchanged from its previous form. It still gives all gold and inactive gold, and it's still the starting skill of the tree. There's not much to talk about here really. Assassinate. This skill still gives Deadly Strike damage and increases the skill duration of the Deadly Strike active skill. That's the little green one at the bottom of the screen. Just a reminder that Deadly Strike helps all builds except Heavenly Strike builds, because Heavenly Strike doesn't get any boost from Deadly Strike damage. Summon Dagger. The first of the new skills. Daggers are a new QuickTime event. The daggers float in front of Swordmaster, and tapping on them causes them to fly into a Titan, dealing a chunk of Deadly Strike damage. More points in the skill increases the Deadly Strike damage dealt. On their own, daggers don't do a whole lot of damage currently, when compared to other damage sources in the game. They look cool, but they need some tweaking to become relevant. Ambush. This skill is partially changed, not because the skill changed on its own, but because the Silent March system changed. It still increases the chance for multi-spawn Titans, gives more gold from multi-spawns, and if you're running Manny Mana, he'll give you more mana when you hit a multi-spawn Manny, but it no longer speeds up inactive play. Because of this, the skill is not particularly useful for late game players anymore. Early game players might find it helpful to have that multi-spawn to help get through stages quicker, but that'll run out pretty quickly, and I'd still recommend using some of the other skills instead. Stroke of Luck. All 3 of the companion Deadly Strike skills, so Shadow Clone, Pet, and Clanship, have been merged into this single new skill. This allows those damage sources to be affected by the Deadly Strike bonus, which allows them to get a decent damage bonus increase. Every build, but Heavenly Strike, will want at least a single point in this skill. This skill also gives a chance to gain times 1000 gold, which actually ends up giving you an average bonus from whatever gold source you're using. Increased levels in the skill will increase the damage amount from the Deadly Strike bonus and increase the average gold that you'll earn. Poison Edge. Poison Edge causes your daggers to add a poison stack to a Titan for each blade that hits the Titan. The stacks stay on the Titan until it dies. Each stack of poison increases the amount of damage the Titan receives from all sources, making this useful for all builds. You can have a maximum poison stack of 10 on a Titan at any one time. This skill also increases the amount of daggers that spawn each cycle of the QuickTime event, maxing out at plus 7 daggers, meaning 8 in total at the highest level. Because 8 daggers is the max count per event cycle, and the max stacks on a Titan can be 10, it'll take 2 cycles to fully stack up a single Titan. This can take quite some time, since the QuickTime event is a bit slow to repair. As such, this skill combos well with push builds that use Lightning Strike and Anchoring Shot to whittle down Titan HP and push a little extra towards the end of their run, but it's definitely one of the slower skills to use. Cloaking. Cloaking is a new skill designed to speed up early stages of your run. Cloaking is active during a percentage of your remaining stages between your advanced start and your max stage. It makes it so that you have a chance of skipping 5 stages each time you kill a boss Titan. You can tell when Cloaking is active because there is a big green circle at the top around the stage number. Higher levels in the skill increases the chance of skipping the 5 stages, and also increases the range that Cloaking can go. This is pretty great for all builds. It also has a chance to proc when skipping non-bosses, meaning it can still trigger when Durandal pushing, and it can also proc on porters, adding 5 to their total skip. Forbidden Contract. Contract is a new QuickTime event that acts like a mana burn. With a point in Contract, 5 ruins will begin to float around Swordmaster. Tapping on all 5 consecutively will sign the contract, and Swordmaster will begin trading mana for damage. Your mana will burn away faster and faster each second, while your damage bonus will increase faster and faster each second too. The contract expires when you run out of mana and can no longer keep up your end of the bargain. The damage bonus has a cap, but being able to reach that cap depends on your mana pool and regen amounts. More points into the skill increases the damage cap, and also reduces the mana per second, meaning you should be able to keep contract up for longer, and so reaching higher damage values. It seems the skill is aimed at higher level players who have mana to spare. Players may find it useful to add some mana regen into their builds to make better use of the skill. It could also be useful to just use it right at the end of your run for a single time to help push that wall, and then prestige right after you run out of mana. This way you can get a nice damage buff without having to worry about any mana regen skills. I'm looking forward to the creative builds players will come up with using this one. Dagger Storm. Dagger Storm makes it so your dagger strikes can splash skip and splash through bosses. In its current state, the skill isn't terribly helpful. Daggers lack the damage to keep up with other forms of damage in the game, and so, because they can't kill near or at your MS, you can't gain the value of any skipping. I'd stay clear of this one for the time being, but I can see GameHive changing daggers up a bit in the future. For daggers, I'd just stick with going up to Poison Edge, since poison stacks at least do help other builds. Deadly Focus. Deadly Focus is the final skill in the road tree, and it's actually pretty awesome. With points in the skill, each time you trigger a Deadly Strike, there's a chance that your Deadly Strike damage will be increased up to a maximum stat count. When this triggers, you'll see a slicing effect on screen. Higher levels in Deadly Focus increases the amount of bonus damage you gain from each stack, and also increases the amount of stacks, with the highest level giving you plus 7. Deadly Focus works for all builds except Heavenly Strike, since Heavenly Strike is the only build that doesn't receive a boost from Deadly Strike damage. And that wraps up the rogue tree. Some awesome new additions to the game, Silent March is back and better than ever, and the meta changes will make for some good fun over the next few weeks. There were some additional changes to the game in this patch. You can check them out in the patch notes for yourself. I'll put a link in the description. Let me know what you think of the changes in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you found this helpful. I've been Stranger. Tap on. Swordmaster awoke one day to a note laying beside them that simply read, "This is the way," with a singular rune drawn into the parchment. Upon touching the note, an image flashed through Swordmaster's mind, showing a familiar town. The vision focused on a small hut with a serpent carved into the front door. It took 2 days of marching, fighting titans along the way, until Swordmaster reached the small farming town to find the hut foreseen in the days prior. Upon opening the door, there was a single candle burning on a table. Beside it was a small leather-bound book embossed with a golden cross. Upon opening the book, a wealth of knowledge flooded into Swordmaster's mind. From the shadows, the voice of an old man broke the silence. What was once ours is now yours. Should you require more of our power, simply sign the contract." And with that, the candle flickered out, leaving Swordmaster in pure darkness. After a second, Swordmaster's eyes adjusted perfectly to the lack of light. Taking a step forward, even in heavy, metal-plated boots, no sound came from their footsteps. Hearing the floorboards creak behind them, Swordmaster quickly spun around with newly enhanced reflexes, and flung a dagger from their belt, which thudded into the wall behind them. To the Swordmaster's surprise, the dagger pinned a piece of parchment to the wooden wall. Taking a step closer to inspect the note, 5 runes were etched into it, rotating slowly along its surface. Sensing great power in the runes, they rolled it up and placed it inside their pack. Swordmaster left the hut in search of even more power to help turn the tide of this endless war against the Titans.